So guys, today is 4th May and we are starting the year-wise advanced discussions. We will be doing yes paper 1 from 2011 till 2022. Initially, as per the plan, I had given the timetable, and in that I had said that you will have 2 hours for each year. So 12 days classes were there for 2 hours each, but now I've doubled the time. I've extended it to 4 hours per year, which will be like 2 hours per class. So 2 days, two classes for each year, 50 questions in each class we are going to take. And this will enable us to discuss every single question. So in order to make things more efficient, what I have thought is we can, and this was a suggestion of some of the students also, that we can discuss first. I will tell my approach to all the questions so that we can quickly wrap up the 50 questions as soon as possible. And I'll stop the recording there so that we have a separate video of just the discussion, just the approach which I am sharing for the questions, so that tomorrow if anybody wants to see just my approach, they have that video, a shorter video, a more less size video will be this one. And the other video, I'll start the recording again, and therein all your doubts, whatever there are about the questions that we are going to take. Okay. Also, as I had already said that basic doubts will be out of scope of this class. I'd request everyone to mute their mics, please. Right. So basic doubts, the ones which will come to you if you have not practiced all the questions, if you have not given mocks, those kind of doubts will be out of scope of these sessions. Okay, so for those doubts you can message me separately. I'll take them one-to-one. I'll in the ET solutions channel, I type the solution. In case of any problem, I can have a one-to-one session also, call with you, or maybe some extra classes also we can have. I'm not doing these discussions in the general forum because it has the potential to confuse everyone. So if it is not broken, we should not, because at this stage, you have already reached a maturity level. You already have your own version of elimination, your own flavor of elimination. So we don't want any disturbance in that. Okay, so that's why I'm not taking the basic doubts in the common sessions. Okay, so I'll just start the 50 questions now. Okay, so this is 2011 paper, question number 1. Now I will be moving from first question till 50th question. It doesn't mean that that is how you have to solve the paper. Okay, so the first thing that you have to always keep in mind are the two principles to solve the paper. The two principles are: first, easy first, difficult later. Okay, easy first, difficult later. And second, knowledge first. When you are doing paper, when you are doing your mock, or when you are actually attempting the paper, knowledge, clear, confident, standard fact questions, easier questions, right? They have to be always done first. In three statement questions or two statement questions, even if it is elimination question, whatever thing you know by knowledge, you just use your knowledge there, and then only elimination, right? So two principles of solving the paper are: one, easy first, difficult second, later, and second is knowledge first, elimination later. Okay, so just for convenience sake, I'm doing the questions in sequence just from 1 to 50, but that is not how you people are going to attempt the mock, okay, or your actual exam. So with this, I'm starting the first question. This is 2011 paper, series A, question number 1. Now this question was fairly doable. Words have meaning, technique, names have meaning, technique can be used here. The important thing is bio-based asphalt. Now I'm not even reading the full question because I had said that for this class you ought to give the question, the paper as mock, and then come, right? To save time, I'm not reading the full question. That is expected to be done by you before attending these classes. So the first question is about bio-based asphalt, bio-asphalt, and names have meaning. So bio has got something to do with life, organic, right? And asphalt we know is used for maybe road construction or that kind of thing. So if we look at the statements, first is first, third, and fourth are related to the bio part of bioasphalt, the life part, the organic part, and eco-friendly, all of that. So 1, 3, and 4 names have meaning, they have to be correct. And the second one is saying bioasphalt can be made from non-renewable sources. Now, even though it is a soft statement, even though it is saying can be, using can be, still the name itself is beyond non-renewable. That much commonsensical we have to be in the paper, right? So second is wrong because of that. And actually, if you are just eliminating second, you can arrive at the answer. That is bravo. So answer from one statement we can get. The second question is giving you three gases: carbon dioxide, oxides of nitrogen, oxides of sulfur. I'm recording, right? Okay. It is saying which of these are emissions from coal combustion at thermal power plant. Now, thermal power plant are amongst the most common sources of air pollution. So whatever is common, whatever gas or emission you have heard generally, it's highly likely that it will be from a common source, like vehicular exhaust or your thermal power plants, industries, etc. Right? That is why they are common. If it is a common pollutant, it has to come from common sources. If it is some exotic kind of pollutant, it will come from non-common or exotic or specialist sources, right? So here, that is the common sense way of dealing with this question. The other way of dealing with this question is reverse deep fact technique, right? This is typical reverse deep fact framing. And you know that just a few words are given for each statement, and it is asked which of these are emissions from coal uh, combustion at thermal power plants. So it requires deep knowledge to say that CO2 or oxides of nitrogen or oxides of sulfur are not produced from these power plants. So reverse deep fact technique also you can use, or plain common sense. Actually, it's always better to go for level 1 techniques before going for level 2, but here both are working. Okay. The third question is satellites used for telecommunication are kept in geostationary. Again, words have meaning. Geostationary. Geo means Earth. Stationary means it is stationed at one location. It is not moving in the context of the Earth. That means it will seem to be at the same position if we look at it from any point on Earth. So the orbit is geosynchronous. It has to synchronize as per the movement of the Earth. So commonsensical names have meaning. This should be correct. And fourth statement is talking of some very vague figure. Standard fact usually wrong, just talking of some number, and that is testing your memory and not any of the OLQs. So fourth should be wrong because of standard fact usually wrong. Okay. And actually fourth alone is giving us the answer in this question. You can also go the other way around. First is also saying, so second and third, if you want to mark the second and the third statement, then it has to be out of knowledge, right? Because whether the orbit is circular or elliptical or what kind, this will require knowledge. Actually, it is a standard fact question. Different kinds of satellites you ought to know, different kinds of orbits you ought to know. So this is actually a standard fact question, but elimination is helping us out in this one, right? In many standard fact questions, elimination helps us out. This is one of them. But ideally, standard fact questions are supposed to be marked out of knowledge. The next is question number 4. Am I too slow or am I too fast? Is it okay? Give me a thumbs up if it is okay. All right. So, all right. Fine. Thank you. Thank you. Next is India has experienced persistent and high food inflation. What could be the reasons? Okay, food inflation. I remember there was another question, demand pull inflation. What are the reasons for demand pull inflation? Right, inflation is an important topic. Multiple questions have been asked. The demand pull inflation was in 2020, if I'm not wrong. I've been taking that question in the one-to-one sessions. I think it was 2020 only. So what could be the reasons? So okay, so if you understand the concept of inflation, you don't really need to go into the reasons particularly, but you just need to understand what is the meaning of inflation, why it is happening, what are the policy measures, government, RBI, etc. And all of these, almost all of these questions can be done via just the basic conceptual understanding, right? So the first statement is talking of something steadily decreasing by 30%. Figure number also is given and steadily also is given. So these are only a specialist, only an economist is going to know it. So specialist information, deep fact, incorrect. And the first statement itself will give you the answer. It is mentioned in 3 out of 4 statements. The second and the third statements are actually soft facts. Soft statements can be correct. Then you have fifth question, at present. So this is the stress. You have to be very careful when you are reading the question. It is saying at present, scientists can determine the arrangement of genes or DNA sequences. How does this knowledge benefit us? So what are the benefits of knowing how these genes are arranged, right? So first statement is a soft fact, soft statement would be correct. The second, say high chance of being correct. The second statement is saying all human diseases, even though it is saying possible, UPSC is just trying its cards at confusing you here, but the tone of all, it is so strong that it is overpowering the possible in the initial part of the sentence, and therefore overall this will be a, you can say it is a would have heard statement, and it will be incorrect, and this one statement alone will give us the answer. Next is question number 6. It is saying in terms of economy, visit by foreign nationals will constitute what? Okay. And so this is a commonsensical kind of question. I mean, how I solved it, it can change from person to person. How I solved it is like, if foreign nationals are visiting our country or any country, the first thing that they will do is exchange the currency, right? They'll exchange their currency for our currency. That means they are buying our currency. If they are buying our currency, that is almost the same as they are buying our products from their country. So it is almost the same as exports. So I went via this route. There can be other ways also, but this one seems to be giving us the answers. That is fine. It's good enough. Next is question number 7, talking of microbial fuel cells. Please note, it is saying they are considered to be a source of sustainable energy. They are a sustainable energy source. That means they will not have anything that is non-sustainable. Then only they can be a sustainable energy source, right? Why is that so? So the first state, and microbial, so microbes, life, bio, right? So the first statement is soft and wide, so has to be correct. The third again is soft, has to be correct. The second statement is saying they use a variety of inorganic materials as substrates. Now this statement is shady because it is using the word inorganic. We are talking of microbial fuel cells, microbes, and it is saying that it is a sustainable source of energy. So if it is using inorganic, anything inorganic, that sustainable source of energy part is going to get compromised. Also, if it said they use a variety of organic materials as substrates, then of course we'll mark it correct because of names have meaning. But just because it is saying inorganic, the other way of thinking about it is whether they are using inorganic as substrates or not is deep fact. Only specialists can tell whether microbial fuel cells, which is otherwise an organic thing, will use inorganic materials or not. Only specialists will tell, right? So you can say it is deep fact, you can use common sense, whatever works for you. Okay, the next is question number 8, talking of which option describes fiscal stimulus. I think this is pretty simple question. Fiscal stimulus has to deal with government, and stimulus is like stimulating the economy. So some form of expenditure, some form of giving a push to the economy. So option Bravo is the best choice here. A, C, and D are actually too narrow. A is saying in manufacturing, C is saying action on financial institutions, and Delta is talking of financial inclusion. This is actually not even related to fiscal stimulus. So Bravo is the best bet. It is saying to boost economic activity in the country. So when you decode the term fiscal stimulus, we are coming pretty close to what Bravo is saying. So we'll mark that as the answer, right? Then we have question number 9. This is a standard fact question, okay? This cannot be done via elimination. So it says the formation of ozone hole in Antarctic region has been a cause of concern. What could be the reason for the formation of this hole? So it is asking you the reason, and if you read the options, it is getting pretty technical with chlorofluorocarbon, stratospheric clouds, and all options seem to be having these kind of technical formal words, right? So this is giving us hint that we cannot use just elimination, just logical thinking in this question. You have got to know the difference between these options to mark it accurately. So it is a standard fact question. Okay. Then you have question number 10. This also is a standard fact. It's a simple question. It's a doable question, but it is standard fact in the sense that unless you know the meaning of current account deficit, you will not be able to mark the answer, right? So you have to know the meaning of these basic terms, then you can mark certainly, but unless you know it, this is a question you should not attempt. Then 11th question, pure standard fact. Okay, it is talking of some act and it is saying it provides for which of the following, and what statements are given are very formal, very technical. It is not allowing any kind of room of, like, it's not saying that disability act wala statement or maternity benefits act. That kind of feel, that kind of vibe is not there in this question. It's pure polity. UPSC is in pure factual mood here, testing your knowledge. Okay, so standard fact question, don't touch it with elimination. Then you have 12th question. The 12th question again requires knowledge of mapping. If you don't know Bhitarkanika, Simlipal, acha, we have seen in the class, in the one statement training class, ET training class, that when you have similar kind of statements in one statement question, it's highly likely the answer is amongst one of them, right? So we can note that B and C have got very similar framing, but A and D, alpha and delta, are also similar because we know that Bhitarkanika and Simlipal are protected areas, right? They are similar in that way. So answer has to be either between A and D or B and C, and B and C actually are not very popular. So MIP approach, most important or popular approach you can go with. You can eliminate Bravo and Charlie, but between alpha and delta, it is impossible to mark the answer unless you know by mapping where is Bhitarkanika, where is Simlipal, and which the description is matching which of these two, right? So ET can help us in confidently eliminating 50% of the options, but beyond that, you need knowledge in this question. The final answer we cannot mark without knowledge, okay? And I personally don't favor just blindly making a guess after eliminating two options, because we will never be in control then. Like, there will be all shades of questions are there, and it's likely that you develop that aggressive behavior, and even you will test your luck even in those questions which require much more knowledge. So that is just bad habit which I personally don't believe in. Up to you. If it works for you, that's, you'll have to take a call for that. So it may work differently for different people, but I personally don't suggest doing that. Then question number 13, again, standard fact. You have to know what is base effect. You have to know. It is not like Basel 3 norms or M stripes, not as common as those things. It is base effect. You have to know what is that to mark the answer. Unless you know that, don't become gamma. Don't become gamma in the land of llama. Okay, standard facts is the land of UPSC. Next is 14th. 14th again, this is a common sense question, demographic dividend. So you will notice there's this question on demographic dividend, and in one of the years there was a question on human capital, right? So demographic dividend and another question on human capital or social capital. I think so. Something was human or social. Anybody recalls that question? Was it human capital or social capital?
Social capital is
Social
also
capital, no? Huh. So that was wider. Demographic dividend is narrower in meaning compared to social capital, because social capital includes having that trust, having that a good feeling, good vibe in the society. That is not a part of demographic dividend. Demographic dividend is very hard skill, like you have physical infrastructure, hard infrastructure, soft infrastructure. So it's like having that skill, having a capable manpower, not necessarily having that bonhomie amongst the population, that is social capital. Okay. So this is a pretty commonsensical question. I think you would have got it. No need to discuss. Then 15th question is carbon credits. This is, you can solve it via would have heard. It says carbon credits. It's some form of credits, right? Credits. What are credits? When you do some good job, you get credits, right? Even in university, you get credits, you get marks, all of that, right? Or you pay your bills on time, you get some credits. So carbon credits is not correct. You have to be very careful. Because of this not, it is becoming a standard fact question. Okay, because of this not. If this not were not there, and instead of this, if it said which of them is carbon credits, then it will have a higher element of knowledge. Okay, UPSC has got a much higher angle of confusing you using some similar names, themes, etc. to confuse. But because it is not correct given here, then it becomes a fairly doable question, right? So delta is the one which you would have heard. Delta has got that vibe. Carbon credits are traded at a price fixed from time to time by the UN Environment Program. We never hear of UN Environment Program fixing some price or carbon trading. In fact, there was one question also where it was given. Oh, it was a one statement question only. Common carbon metric. And in that question, one of the options said it's a market for something by UNEP, right? You remember that? UNEP doesn't engage in market kind of like trading kind of things, right? That was the reason we eliminated that statement. Okay. And if UNEP did anything here, it is much closer because it is dealing with carbon credits. But still, if UNEP did anything like that, it is saying fixing the price is also like the price is fixed by time to time. It's an international thing. International politics is dominated by democracy, free market, right? UN fixing the price of anything is going against those principles. This is the one. And if it happened, we would have heard of it, right? So whatever technique you can use or common sense you can use, that these kind of things are generally not true, or sunne mein nahi aata hai, going against the grain of what is happening in the present. So you mark delta as not true. This is the answer to this question. Next is, which of the following is not a feature of value added tax? Here, our luck has exhausted. Okay, not a feature of carbon, or which is not correct about carbon credits. We were lucky, we got it. Actually, it's a standard fact question, but when it comes to VAT, बस हाथ खड़े कर दिया हमने, नहीं कर सकते इसको बिना knowledge के. ठीक है? Too formal, too factual. It's a standard fact question. These were the times when GST, etc. I think maybe had started the discussions or something. So value added tax, all of that were in news. So these features, yes, you are supposed to know. Okay. So, one good thing about the 15th and the 16th question is we can see like carbon credits is not as standard as VAT, right? VAT is something dealing with your own country, your very directly dealing with your syllabus, both for mains and for prelims. So you're supposed to know it. Carbon credit, still UPSC has taken a softer stance and has framed more processable options. Okay. Then you have 17th common sense question, closed economy. I think everyone will mark it. We'll go to the 18th one. It says, अच्छा देखो 18th वाले में मेरे को एक important actually there is a technique, you can say it's a hack, not really a technique. I want to discuss this with you all. Should I do it now or later? I think I'll do it later. Okay, I'll do it later because then that flow will break और तुम लोगों को confusion भी होगा probably. So we'll take it later. This is doable via elimination, but that's only a hack. That is how many biology related questions, general science related questions, one statement especially, tend to behave. But it's just a hack, so we don't know, like it may not work tomorrow, but till now since 2011 it has been working. I'll share that with you when we have the detailed discussion after doing these 50 questions. Okay, but this one is doable. Next is 19th, New START treaty. Ideally, you know, knowledge ऐसी चीजें न्यूज में रहती हैं, but this question can be done via elimination. MIP approach, okay, most important or popular approach. We will be able to get to the answer. Then 20th question, hotspots of biodiversity. This was a TEDA question, okay. This was a TEDA question because यहाँ पे तुम्हें डेंसिटी से कंफ्यूज करेगा, इतनो botanical importance से कंफ्यूज करेगा, threat perception से. These are the things which you would not have heard. Even till date we are not hearing these kind of things. Generally they are not a part of our official sources, standard sources, right? So in these kind of questions tomorrow, like we had that tsunami wala question also in 2022, right? Such a long question. Solar flare impact, solar wind impact, how is it going to, 6-7 statements were there and you had to mark which of them is correct. So best way of dealing these questions is to go for what is there in the books, whatever you may have heard in the context of that. If you have not heard in that question 2022 wala, equatorial regions will have tsunami या कुछ ऐसे करके ऐसा absurd सा option था, right? Tsunami is an important topic of syllabus. Solar wind also, solar flares is an important part. We keep hearing of them, solar wind, solar flares. So if it caused tsunami or if it was one of the causal factors of tsunami, for sure we would have heard, right? So you eliminate that. I think answer is coming from that statement itself. But same approach in this question also. Species richness, if you want to choose the criteria for recognizing something as hotspots of biodiversity, it has to be biodiverse, it has to have species richness, right? Biodiversity, species richness, it has to have endemism, and both of these 1 and 3 are mentioned in only one option. Okay, so because just note the framing of the options here, UPSC could give you more, to make your life hell. UPSC could have given you 1 and 3 in more than one options and maybe force you to think on 4th statement or 5th statement, but it did not. Okay, so you just have to keep your cool. The thing is, you have to keep your cool, and these questions are pretty doable. Even the ये question था ना तुम्हारा अमरनाथ वाला, अमरनाथ वाला, समझी? So ये क्या था यार वो? Forgetting.
Then it's nitrogen fixation.
Nitrogen fixation, right? So in that, one of the plants mentioned was amaranth. Okay, and just to spoil all of your peace of mind, you have Amarnath also. So just be careful if next time you are reading Amarnath as amaranth or amaranth as Amarnath. Okay, be careful. So that question also will be done via would have heard approach. Okay, so just keep your cool, and whatever you have read in your basic books, on those only these kind of questions are to be marked. So tension nahi lena. Okay, आगे बढ़ते हैं. We have question 21. अच्छा, ये ध्यान देखो, यहाँ यूपीएससी ने गेम कहाँ खेला है? Recent past पे. Okay, question 21 is saying human activities in the recent past have caused some problems. So recent past generally means the start of industrial revolution. Okay, emissions problem, climate change has become more prominent because of that, Anthropocene, right? So carbon dioxide increasing concentration, but a lot of it does not remain in the lower atmosphere because of. Now just notice the framing, just feel the energy of this part. If a lot of carbon dioxide emitted is not going to remain in the lower atmosphere, we would have heard of the reasons, right? It becomes important to know of this. It will be mentioned in your books, it will be mentioned even probably in the basic books, right? What is happening to the carbon dioxide? A lot, because it is saying a lot of it. So it is focusing, the question is stressing on what is generally the trend, what is generally happening. It is not talking of some niche aspect of this carbon movement. Okay, so generally what is happening in recent past, just keep this in mind. Most likely you would have got confused in the third statement, trapping of air in polar ice caps. Now this is going to be solved by the recent past. Air is not getting trapped just in the last 200-300 years. The polar ice caps have been trapping air since many millennia, thousands of millions of years. Okay, and that is what the permafrost and all of that is now. We are fearing that it is going to release all of that trapped gases. So with this, we can eliminate the third statement and it will help you mark the answer. 1 and 2 will not be a problem. 1, it is saying it will escape into outer stratosphere. If you know the layers of the atmosphere, outer stratosphere, we have never heard. A lot of it does not remain in the lower atmosphere. This is what the question is saying. So you have to hear about it, right? We have never heard of stratosphere in this context, so remove this. Photosynthesis, yes, because and the nature of photosynthesis is the phytoplanktons, they are capturing, sequestering that carbon. We have heard of this, so this is why the second statement we have heard of. So photosynthesis captures CO2, it will be correct. And then 22nd statement is saying in the context of ecosystem productivity, marine upwelling zone. So we are talking specifically of ecosystem productivity. That means you need to have very fast rate of biomass generation, life generation. Satya, I'll come to the doubts at the end. Once I discuss all the 50 questions, I'll take the doubts afterwards, right? So you may lower your hand for now, please. Ecosystem productivity. So we have to know what it means. And then marine upwelling zones, that means bottom water is coming up. Those are the upwelling zones. They are important. Why are they important? Decomposer microorganisms to the surface. This is a commonsensical question. Decomposer microorganisms, if they are increasing ecosystem productivity, we would have heard, because decomposers also we study and ecosystem productivity also we study. If there was any link between the two, we would have heard it. It would be mentioned in the books. Okay, WHS technique here. Nutrients, certainly, if nutrients are there, ecosystem, any ecosystem is going to have better productivity. And bottom dwelling organisms will not be there, because all organisms have got their own habitats, their own requirements of temperature and pressure. Bottom dwelling organisms are not just going to get to the top with the water. It does, nature doesn't work that way. Bottom organisms will stay at the bottom only because they have their own pressure requirements and this sunlight and all of that things are there. 23rd question, common sense. It is saying if a tropical rainforest is removed, it does not regenerate quickly. It does not regenerate quickly as compared to tropical deciduous. Acha, iska dhyan dena. This first statement can now be asked as a, the question statement can now be asked in one of the questions in 2022. You have to know that tropical rainforests do not regenerate quickly as compared to deciduous. That means deciduous regenerate faster than tropical rainforest. This is the lesson. Okay, you have to remember this. This is standard fact now. Why does this happen? So all the three, B, C, and D, are like two absurd options to be the answer. Answer has to be formal. Answer has to be related to the syllabus. So alpha alone actually is the answer. Bravo probably is formal enough. Propagules of the trees in a rainforest have poor viability. Like we would have heard about something like this. We've never heard of propagules or viability and all of that. So the best answer in this question is alpha. Okay, then 24th question, Himalayan range is very rich in I'd request all of you to please mute your mics. We'll have, when we have the discussion, then only please unmute. So Himalayan range is very rich in species diversity. Which one of the following is the most appropriate reasons? Okay, now here most appropriate is asked. Next time multi-statement question could be there and you could be asked which of them is a reason for that. Okay, so Uh, it has to be Bravo. It has to be Bravo because uh, there are all the other three. Like it has very rich species diversity. Himalayan range is very rich in species diversity. So the reason has to be something which is unique to Himalaya. If other regions are not, but Himalaya is having greater diversity, so the answer to that has to be something which is unique to Himalaya. Anything which will be found anywhere else also, that will not explain why there is richer biodiversity in the Himalayas, right? So it has to be a unique, a special characteristic, which is Bravo. Then you have 25th question. You can use reverse defact technique here. Also, uh, if you think that UPSC is asking which of them are relevant to biodiversity conservation or have a bearing on, common sense will say it is bearing is a very soft word, it's a very wide word. It has to, like, everything and anything can be counted under that. So one way of thinking about it is this. Second way of thinking about it is reverse deep fact technique, to say that there is Customs Act has got no link, no bearing whatsoever on biodiversity, requires deep knowledge, deep facts, right? Reverse defact also you can use. And also I was thinking yesterday, if it was so straightforward that only biodiversity related acts had to be the answer, like Forest Act probably had to be the answer, okay, or minerals, chalo wo forest cut hota hai usme, chalo mineral and mining, but Customs Act seemingly it is not having any direct impact on biodiversity. The question firstly is not saying have a direct impact on biodiversity, it is just saying have a bearing, right? And in these kind of questions, to say that with such soft language, to say that Customs Act will not be the answer, it is like too stupidly simple. It is too stupidly simple. UPSC will not put in so much of effort and give Customs Act uh, as the as one of the statements. Okay, it is too stupidly simple. That is not the nature of UPSC. So reverse defact technique can work. Then next question, Karl Marx. Now this is one of those few questions which require knowledge, I would say even specialist knowledge. What is empirical liberalism, existentialism, all of these? Chalo, Darwin theory pata hogi probably. Dialectical materialism also is a technical concept to a large extent. So uh, if you know, you can mark, perhaps you can give a fight in this question, but if you don't know, there is absolutely no need of even thinking about this question, because the question is too, I mean, too un-UPSC, un-civil services. So this is one of those questions wherein our elimination techniques are failing. Actually, the good thing is all the options are so formal and so likely that without knowledge, we cannot take a call in this question, right? So elimination is failing theoretically, but practically it will not, because we will not be marking this question in the exam. Okay, theoretically it is failing, yes, because it is not surely a standard fact question, and it's a non-standard question which ETs are not solving. So hard luck. Okay, there may be questions like these also. Next, ionosphere. Ionosphere has to be related to ions. Okay, pretty straightforward question. Related, not related technique. Both of the statements are not related to the question. That's it. Delta is the answer. 28th is FDI, FII. Again, like the basal, base effect question and the other question that we had done, that you need to know the meanings of these terms. So ideally, you should know what is FDI, you should know what is FII, especially because there's a, you need to know this, what is the difference between these two. A comparison is asked. Whenever a comparison is asked, you cannot use deep fact technique, because there has to be some option which will be correct, and all options probably will talk about comparison, right? So you can't use deep fact technique. You have to have that fundamental basic clarity, then only you touch these questions. If tomorrow it is asking something, and we know that it's a standard fact question, right? These things are mentioned in our books. So tomorrow, if you see something like this and you have no idea, it's a comparison question, then don't waste your while thinking about it, just move ahead. Okay, if you don't know, leave it. Then 29th. 29th talks of BT Brinjal. What is the objective? Okay. So naturally, now this question can be solved via elimination. If a developing country like India is developing, is making, you know, some technological change, whatever it is, it has to deal with the most current, with the biggest problem that we have. It will not deal with other more far-fetched problems for which we still have time to prepare. It has to deal with what is there, what you need to fix, right? So if it is not broken, we will not fix. We have too limited resources for that. So if it is not broken, we will not fix it. So we have to go for what is broken, and that is the problem of pests. So that has to be the answer in this case. Then you have 30th question, Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana, names have meaning. Actually, this is a fairly known popular yojana also. So if you know certain things only, you will know. Okay. One important thing you have to learn in these questions is that it will never give you, if it is a multi-statement question, it will never give you all standard facts in all the statements. Okay, uska koi sense hi nahi hai, because the objective is not to test your knowledge, it is to throw you off balance. That's why nowadays like 200 300 page PDFs are now have now started to come for just these schemes. Okay, you don't need to know all of those points, basic things. What are the objectives of the scheme? Maybe who is eligible, who is not eligible, who is which ministry probably, right? That's it, just basic 3-4 things there are. Those things you have to know. Beyond that, if anything is asked, elimination will work for sure. Okay, there are so many things that you can do, related, not related, linked statements, conflicting, complementing, so many things are there. In almost all cases, we can arrive at the answer. If in some cases we are faltering, that's okay. 20% questions are going to give us a hard time, but 80% questions will get correct also. Okay. So Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana. Aam Aadmi, this is a Bima Yojana. It's an insurance Yojana for Aam Aadmi. And if you think about what an Aam Aadmi is like in this country, not a very good picture is going to come to our mind. Okay. So accordingly, if you think about this, it will not be like you will be able to solve the question. It cannot, second statement will not be correct. It says 30 to 65 years. Who has the luxury of not working till 30 years? Okay, even khas aadmi cannot have that luxury. Sirf very khas aadmi have the luxury probably of not working till 30. So Aam Aadmi certainly does not have that luxury. It will not be 30. Remove it. And second is the statement that is going to cause trouble. In third statement, perhaps you may have trouble, but then again, you have to take it as per the feeling that you are getting. Okay, this is a statement which is unpreparable. This is a statement which is unpreparable. It's a non-standard fact statement. So now just see, is it desirable or not? So we will want that everyone should have insurance, financial inclusion, etc. That is happening. And there's already a law, right to education, that is guaranteeing education till class 8th. So as extra incentive, it can be that from 9th to 12th also education is given and you take the insurance, right? So these kind of statements go by desirability, go by the general feel. It should not be against the policy of the government. Similar question, Maternity Benefits Act was there. The third statement of that question said that women with 2 children get reduced entitlements. Yes, that has to be correct, because it is going in favor of, it is like matching the government approach of hum do hamare do. So if a woman already has 2 children, then she should get less entitlements, right? Reduced entitlement. That's soft language, reduced entitlement. It's not saying women with 2 children will not get any entitlement. That statement will be wrong. Okay, so you have to feel the statements. So this will be correct, and I think you'll get to the answer. Okay. Actually, this question, Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana, is based on this third statement. It wants you to process this third statement. Okay, you cannot mark the answer without processing the third statement. So that's how you have you have to go about. One of the ways, Then Brent crude, right? So Brent crude we have heard of, but we are not like, we don't prepare it in detail. Okay, we don't prepare it in detail. So has to be correct technique will work. Names have meaning, formal, informal, all of those techniques are going to work here. And look at the third statement. It says it does not contain sulfur. Just recall the microbial fuel cell question, wherein the second statement said it can have a variety of inorganic things, inorganic elements make substrates, right? Use a variety of inorganic things in the substrates. And here it is saying it does not contain sulfur. We are talking of non-standard things, and we are talking of statements which are beyond our preparation capacity. If it said it contains sulfur, then we will not have any problem. Just like if in the fuel cell questions, microbial fuel cell question, if it said a variety of organic substances can be used to make substrates, we will not have any problem because it will match the name, right? Microbial, so we will not have any problem. Here also, if it said it contains sulfur, we will not have any problem because sulfur oxide, dioxide is an important, it's a common pollutant like nitrogen oxide, oxides of sulfur, we know that, right? Fossil fuels. So any kind of oil, like almost all oil, all kinds of oil are going to have these common substances. That's why they are common pollutants. If there is any important oil which is not having these, we will hear about it. We would have heard of it, right? Same thing in microbial fuel cell. So this is where it is going against the grain. When it says it does not contain sulfur, यहाँ पे हमारे कान खड़े हो जाने चाहिए. Okay, it does not contain sulfur requires deep knowledge to prove, to say, right? And the same way, it microbial fuel cell can use inorganic substances as substrates. Again, it is going against the grain because वो है microbial, ये inorganic, तो कुछ match नहीं हो रहा, गड़बड़ हो रही है, right? So we just have to be careful with what it is saying. Other than that, no problems at all. All right. Next 33, function of heavy water in nuclear reactor. Again, common sense question, similar statements technique that we have done. If two statements are similar, answer is most likely to be between them. So alpha and bravo are very much similar, and naturally alpha has to be the answer because it is not just going to increase the speed. Okay, we know that, we can sense that, so has to be alpha. Then 33rd, in India, if a religious sect is given a minority status, okay, so ideally standard fact question. Okay, in fact, this question cannot be marked by just elimination because it wants you to process the third statement, which is a highly factual statement. You need to know what is 15-point program. In those days, it used to be there. So don't lose your sleep over कि मेरे को नहीं पता 15-point program क्या है. Now it is not, but in those days it used to be, so don't worry about it, right? So third statement is a standard fact statement. That is why UPSC is forcing you to process it. Okay, so 1 and 3. But one thing that we can sense here, we can see, is that this is not SFUW kind of statement. It's not standard fact usually wrong. It's not testing your memory. Like, it's not like the framing of the statement. It can derive benefits from Prime Minister 15-point program. It has got this not purely conceptual, I would say, but this mix of concept and fact. The factual is this 15-point program. If you know what 15-point program is, great. Even if you don't know, and if you want to take a call, if you want to mark this question, if you have the risk appetite, there's a good chance that you can get it. You should mark it right. Okay, because it is not SFUW kind of statement, right? Simply because it is not SFUW statement, you can take a chance. If you have the risk appetite, mark the third statement as correct. So we'll actually be benefited this way. 3 is the answer. But I'm not saying to do that. Standard facts should actually be prepared. Best is to do them via knowledge. That is not the purpose of elimination, to help you in standard fact questions. 34th question, India is home to disabilities. Okay, now just see. It is saying what are the benefits available to them under the law. Okay, under the law. That means law of India in general. What are the benefits that it is giving to the disabled people, right? Specially abled people. It is not talking of any particular law. it is generally saying the law. And then that means you have to go for desirability approach, the technique, and all of these three statements are desirable. Okay, all of these three statements are desirable. Some students were saying, why is second statement desirable? Preferential allotment of land for setting up businesses. You are talking of all kinds of disabilities here and all kinds of laws, right? And preferential allotment doesn't mean like 100% you are of whatever quota is there or whatever land is there you are giving to them. It doesn't mean that. There could be some percentage that is allowed to some kind of disability. So this is actually a desirable thing, right? So you have to think in a wide way. Just distance yourself from the question, you will get it. If you are too attached, second statement will cause trouble. Okay. Then 35th is, with what purpose is the government, okay, mega food park. So whenever these kind of food parks, special economic zones, these are made, these are generally to boost manufacturing in that sector, and majorly for export. Like export promotion is one of the big objectives, but main objective is to give a boost to the manufacturing in that sector. Now in this context, 1 and 2 mein to you will not have any problem, but third statement should create, like it will create most likely some issues, that it will give emerging and eco-friendly processing, food processing technologies to entrepreneurs. And that's fine. On the face of it, this statement surely seems desirable, but we have to note that giving, emerging, providing the latest technologies is not the job of such broad or generic kind of approach. It's just mega food park. It's just a food park. It will give you some, maybe some kind of specialist machines or something. Those kind of things will be there. Some incentive, tax incentives, etc. Specialist labor will be given. All of that will be there. But the latest technologies, is provision of these technologies is not the job of such generic kind of schemes. It is specialist institutions that do that. CSIR, if you say CSIR for each different aspect, like they will have their own research laboratory, right? Agricultural extension also, the technology part is taken care of by specialist bodies. So that is the reason why third statement will not be in the answer. And also just note entrepreneurs. Okay, around this entrepreneurs, multiple questions have been asked. Seed village concept, seed village question is there. एक और था, small finance bank question. ओके, स्मॉल फाइनेंस बैंक क्वेश्चन, उसमें भी था टू यंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, किसी में यंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स बना दिया, किसी में विलेज एंटरप्रेन्योर्स करके बना रहा है. सो in different cases it is playing in different ways, but then you have to just go for what generally is the objective, is the purpose of the things that are asked in the question. Seed village concept will talk of that. Small finance banks will talk of that, right? They will not be just restricting themselves to young entrepreneurs. If it is about entrepreneurs, then the bank will have that kind of name. It will have that kind of vibe to it. So the vibe of the third statement, the energy of the third statement is not there in the name itself. So most likely it will not be in the answer. Okay. Then 36th question can be done via elimination. It's actually a standard fact question. Actually has to be done purely out of knowledge, and probably you will do also. It's a simple question, but can be done via elimination because of the way this question has been framed. The question says the authorization for withdrawal from Consolidated Fund of India. Like everybody knows Consolidated Fund of India, that's the single most important fund, right? If authorization from withdrawal has to come, it cannot be Alpha, Charlie, and Delta because of the potential, the possibility of misuse. It has to have checks and balances. The people, that is the parliament, has to keep an eye on that. So answer has to be Bravo. So we were lucky in this question. We could mark the answer by elimination, but then don't test your luck in standard fact questions. Elimination is not supposed to help you there. Do it as much as possible via knowledge. All revenues, next question, all revenues received by the union government by way of taxes and other receipts are credited to again, consolidated fund. Out of all of these four options, MIP approach, if you use consolidated fund of India, is the most popular, most important in this context. All the revenues will be credited where, right? So that kind of vibe is there with CFI. The MIP vibe is there in the context of the question. So ideally standard fact question, but can be done via elimination also. 38th question, microfinance is the provision of financial services to people of low income groups. Okay, it is giving you that explanation that microfinance is the provision of financial services. So financial services is a very wide term. Okay, financial services, all kinds of things are there to people of low income groups. That means they will not have very big requirements. This is the stress. Low income group people will not have very big requirements. And financial services is a wide term. That means all kinds of requirements, insurance se leke, whatever is needed for a decent life, these people also should be given that. So this is like the two important keywords here: financial services and low income groups will help you arrive at the answer, which is delta. Then Southeast Asia has, this is a beautiful elimination question. 39. Southeast Asia has now, ये word से काफी change आ रहा है. With, if you just focus on this word has is a present tense word. Present tense means now it has become important. So anything dealing with the past cannot be the answer. Alpha and Charlie are using was. So past में क्या था? कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. It doesn't matter. It will not be the reason. It has to be the present reason, and most obvious is delta. Like that is the most commonsensical. Okay, this has thing was also handy in common carbon metric question. Okay, common carbon metric has been developed by UNEP. Has been. So now it has been developed. That means earlier it was not there. That means the things for which already we are having metrics will not be in the answer. Okay, it's just about experience. It's just about how you read the question. A lot of things can get clear from this habit itself. Next is 40th. It is saying a company marketing food products says it does not contain. So it is saying it does not contain. That means trans fats is, even if you don't know what are trans fats, because marketing initiatives are saying it does not contain, that means it is something bad. It is something bad. So any statement saying anything good will not be in the answer, right? If it is talking about trans fats, so what does this signify? So anything saying anything good, animal fats or vegetable oils, they are not bad, right? They are not bad. Cardiovascular problems, yes, bad. So it has to be in the answer. So it will help you avoid cardiovascular problems. And hydrogenated oil, these are not organic oils. Hydrogenated, some form of artificial processing of the oil. We are having that kind of non-organic vibe to it, like undesirable feel. It could be in the answer, highly likely. So, and 2 has got that organic vibe. It will not, animal fats and animal oils are just derived from animal sources. They're not anything made artificially, or like the whole stress of the first statement is on the artificial nature because of hydrogenated word, and the whole stress of the second statement is on the organic nature because of the word animal, right? So tone nowadays we are doing reading comprehension, तो उसमें बहुत tone पे जाते हैं. So it helps here also, right? The tone of the first statement is negative, and the like vibe is positive of the second statement. Okay. 41st question. Among the following who are eligible to benefit from pure standard fact? इसको नहीं ला पाओगे. These are the kind of questions which, if you don't know, आज जोड़ लेना भाई, आगे चल जाना. Don't become gamma in the land of llama. Okay. Next, 42. With reference to look east policy of India, consider the following. So look east policy, you would have heard of it. And also you know that it's related to some foreign affairs. So this question can be done actually by elimination. Desirability part is there, and second statement is would have heard. You'll reach the answer. 43rd, again standard fact question. 44th, standard fact question. But can be done via elimination. 43rd cannot be done via elimination. 44th can be done via elimination. Okay. it is saying not is not a fundamental duty. So in any option where you get the vibe of fundamental duty, it will not be the answer, right? So Bravo, Charlie, and Delta are giving us that vibe of fundamental duty. So they have a they are highly likely to be in the answer, not the answer. The answer will be what is remaining is the answer. So we are not saying we are not having the vibe of fundamental, like we don't know the list. If you don't know the list of fundamental duty, even alpha could give you that vibe, right? But compared to alpha, there will be stronger vibes in Bravo, Charlie, and Delta, right? These are more likely to be in the list of fundamental duties than alpha. So alpha is remaining. That's why we are marking it as the answer. That's it. Not that any problem with alpha. Okay. Otherwise, ideally, it's a standard fact question, should do out of knowledge. 45th standard fact question, have to do out of knowledge. 46th is a common sense question. Reverse defect also you can use in this question. Also, Arthashastra wala jo question tha na, 2022 wala. I've been thinking about that question. Initially, I was not feeling that all of them could be the answer because of one statement that said the master's son, the son born by a slave woman, will have equal rights as the legal, as the legal son of the master. That kind of statement, if you think about it, feels like kuch gadbad hoga, a society will collapse or something. But the thing is, we are actually, the question said as per Arthashastra, what is given in Arthashastra, right? We are not specialists of Arthashastra to say this is given or not. So I really feel it could be Delta. We are waiting for the answer key. The question is still debated, but now I've got this very strong feeling that it could be Delta 1, 2, and 3 because of reverse defect approach, just like we used in this Universal Declaration of Human Rights. All of these are actually, if you think about the positive way, like commonsensical way, all of these three are basic to the survival of any human being. So they should be in the human rights declaration. But more strongly, if you say that this is specifically talking about the list of human rights mentioned in the declaration, we would for sure not have gone through the declaration and read about all in detail. So what is not, unless it is something very obviously not, then it has to be a problem. Otherwise, reverse defect technique will help you here. Okay. And the same thing you can test in the Arthashastra question also. Let us see what the answer comes. Then we can have a better clarity about that question. Next is 47th. It says harmful algal bloom. Okay. The name itself has got a positive vibe. The tone of bloom is positive. Proliferate has got a negative tone. Bloom is positive. That means algae are blooming, and because bloom has got a positive vibe, they are forced to use the term harmful before that. Okay. So that's why they're using harmful to say that it is not actually blooming of flowers or anything positive, but it is harmful. Okay. So which are the causative phenomena? This is a pretty simple question. All of these three should be in the answer. If you think about it, it's a commonsensical question. Next is 48th question. It says all of these 3, 4 are there. Which of them add carbon dioxide to the cycle of the earth, right? Again, commonsensical question. It is photosynthesis will not add because it is removing actually. Also in the same paper, if you remember, this question was there, a lot of it does not remain in the lower part of the atmosphere, carbon dioxide, right? Photosynthesis was in the answer. Photosynthesis is removing that, right? And look at this question again, photosynthesis, again CO2. So the thing is, you should not lose hope in the paper. Just if 1 or 2 odd question, 3 odd questions are going off wrong, they're making your life difficult, don't lose hope. You have certain questions, and that's why easy to hard. When you are just focusing on the easier questions first, it will give you confidence. And also the harder questions, because you are keeping them at the end, you will be maintaining your peacefulness in the paper. And also when you have done the easier question, you know what is there in the easier questions, and certain kind of information may be helpful in handling the harder questions. Okay. This question was of course not hard, but then we have evidence that there is connection between the questions also sometimes. So we do get information that will be helpful in solving a seemingly hard question. So don't lose hope. The thing is not to lose hope. Okay. This is a fairly easy question. Answer is Charlie. Then you have 49th question. Recently, USA decided to support. USA decided to support India's membership in multilateral export control. The feel of the question itself is very formal, right? The tone, very formal, very official kind of thing. So any statement, any option dealing with unofficial, non-formal thing should not be in the answer, right? So if you see the first statement, it says Australia group is an informal. Why will USA put so much effort और इतना फिर गीत गाएगा अपने इसके effort के for something informal, right? So the tone itself is so formal, and Australia group cannot be informal, cannot be actually this was a standard fact question because this is such big thing. It was in the news everywhere, the magazines etc were filled with that. So ideally you are supposed to do it, but this is again a standard fact question in which elimination is helping in this way, right? So should not be informal. Australia group is informal, no, remove one. Secondly, Australia group comprises predominantly of Asian, African, and North American countries. Like North American group of countries is never, like officially you will not see it is anywhere in news. North American group of countries. It has to be Canada, USA. It has to be like that, right? So feel ही नहीं आएगा second statement से. So to do this question via elimination will require a lot of practice, a lot of repetitive solving of questions. Then you will get that vibe. But the good thing is it was a standard fact question. Okay, you don't need itna elimination पे जोर लगाने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. This was a standard fact question. Ideally, you have to do it out of knowledge. But अगर ET से जाओ तो हो सकता है, but then not suggested. Fine. Last question of today. The surface of lake. This also will be a part of what I want to discuss about these kind of questions. So that will be all this question. Probably, in fact, the options and the framing of the question is such that it should be given in the NCRTs also. These kind of things are mentioned in the NCRT. So probably the answer can be reached via NCRT, but through elimination also, we can reach the answer. And I'm going to discuss this after stopping the recording of this part, right? So guys, with this, we come to the end of the first section of today's class, wherein I discussed my approach to each of these questions. I'll now stop the recording, and this will be a separate video, 2 videos every day I will be uploading for each class. So this will be for people who don't want to see the doubts of other students and only want to see how I have approached the question. So I'll stop the recording and then restart it after when we start the next session.